Okay, chat, it's time to have another very difficult conversation about everybody's favorite hardcore band turned mainstream rock and roll band, Turnstile. Now, they just put out this record called Never Enough over here, and to be honest, it's not exactly what I expected. I may have been a little bit vocally critical about their last record, Glow On, but to be honest, this thing over here, Never Enough, I think is actually a little bit of an improvement. I walked away from Never Enough feeling overall positive. Of course, I have a little bit of critiques going into it, so I'm going to discuss all the things that I liked about it, all the things that I didn't like about it, and overall, if I think Turnstile Never Enough is soy woke trash, or if it's just so amazing that even the audience of people like Jimmy Late Night can still appreciate it. Now, the big difference I want to mention right off the bat is that their former guitar player, Brady, is no longer in the band. And I really enjoyed Brady's presence. I liked his guitar playing. I liked his whole persona. He brought a lot to the stage and the overall vibe of what Turnstile was. So they replaced him with a guitar player known as Meg Mills, and to be fair, I like her vibe as well. I don't want to get into any of the minutia or the drama as to why these guitar players have swapped out or whatever, but from the audience perspective, I think it is a step in the right direction if Turnstile is going to move into this more mainstream kind of rock and roll band kind of thing, which it's clear that they are, and I think Meg kind of suits this vibe very, very well. Now, going into this record, I was expecting there to be kind of a little bit of synth going on, maybe some dream pop activity, which they started to dabble in on their last record. And yeah, they go very heavy with that hand on Never Enough. And really, the track list kind of plays like a checkerboard. You get kind of like this dream pop heavy song, and then this kind of hardcore flavored rock and roll song, and then this dream pop flavored song, and then back and forth for a little while, which on paper sounds kind of jarring, but the way that they do it is actually accomplished really well, because the way the rock elements weave in and out of the synth songs, and the way the synth elements weave in and out of the rock songs, it makes everything feel like it's all coming from the same artistic vision. And honestly, after I sat with this record for a little bit, what Turnstile Never Enough reminds me of is kind of the shape of punk to come. This might actually be the shape of punk to come 2.0. If you're not familiar with that Refused record that came out at the dawn of the millennium that kind of changed punk rock as the band exploded in dramatic fashion. What Turnstile managed to do is take those concepts, take that idea of pushing hardcore forward while incorporating kind of more dancey elements. Refused used techno, and Turnstile's leaning more dream pop and synth pop and that kind of thing. And that's kind of what I wasn't expecting when I sat down to listen to this record. I didn't think it was going to be something that I would compare to something like Refused, the shape of punk to come. I thought it would be kind of like cosplaying as it. Like, hey, we're a hardcore band that want to do pop songs, so here's our pop songs. That's kind of how Glow On felt. Never Enough feels like an actualized vision. And what's really surprising about it is that it's vibe heavy. And what I mean by that is it goes into the songs vibe first, song second. And that's a very interesting way to approach something, especially when you're making a leap into the mainstream. Normally, when you're making a leap into the mainstream, you want to be very song heavy, song focused. You want those hooks. You want those people dancing. You want something tried, tested, and true, something accessible, and something that you can hang your hat on. Never Enough by Turnstile still manages to be pretty experimental while giving the audience the thing that they need to latch onto. There aren't a lot of memorable hooks that stay with you on this record, and that's not the point of it. The point of it is to give you this vibe, something that you just want to feel like you want to immerse yourself in over and over again. It's like, oh, here's this pillowy cloud. It's a little bit nebulous. It might change form here and there, and you're going to take something different from it from one experience to the next. And that, my friends, is not what I was expecting going into this record. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the tracks and about the influences around the tracks, but I want to talk about kind of the album rollout so far, because I'm really impressed with how they're doing the whole album rollout. Now, I'm not going to go any farther than Brooklyn Vegan to start this story. And just like Turnstile loves to do when they're releasing records, is they do a big record release show, and this time they did one under a bridge And it's a beautiful place because it's like not only paying homage to the DIY hardcore roots of doing things, it's actually doing it to the biggest way possible. It's actualizing the Under the Bridge hardcore show at a size capacity nobody ever thought we would ever see it. And not only is it that, it's actually supported by hardcore bands. Baltimore's own End It opened this thing. And you'll love to see Turnstile keeping it Baltimore, keeping it hardcore, because End It are the Baltimore hardcore band right now. They've got the songs, they've got the riffs, they've got the charismatic frontman, they've got it all down to a T. And Turnstile's like, we want to show these guys to the world. And I gotta say, I love it. Big fan of that. Let's bring End It to the masses. Yes, please. And then thanks to Brooklyn Vegan over here and Amanda M. Hatfield for all these wonderful photographs of hardcore band End It. And look at all these happy, smiling faces under the bridge. You hate to see a barricade, but when you're dealing with this many people, maybe barricades are a smart thing to employ. And speaking of employ, they employed another hardcore band to open. The coolest California hardcore band right now, Big Boy. And you want to talk about frontmen with charisma. This dude is charisma personified. So I think Turnstile choosing these two bands in particular to show to the world is very smart, very calculated, and they know what they're doing. Because Turnstile was in the role of these bands just a couple short years ago. They were the energetic, big hardcore band with the charismatic frontman. So Turnstile might be moving on from that, but they're showing the world where they came from and giving people an alternative from the same scene and culture. I think it's beautiful. I absolutely love it. So you got Big Boy down there, you got End It, and it's all turning out so great. And then of course, Turnstile are gonna hit the stage. So we've been talking about underground hardcore punk rock, Baltimore, California. You know who else they got to perform under that bridge with them? Hayley Williams of Paramore. Now, Hayley Williams did a slight little feature on the record on the song Seeing Stars, but here she kind of took a more predominant role. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but here's a taste. Roll it. That's badass. And like I was saying, it's very vibe heavy. It's a vibe you just want to return to, and it's a vibe that only they are providing. And that's the cool thing about Turnstile. Back when they were that hardcore band with all that charisma, they were the only band like that. They were so special. And now that they're moving into this kind of more mainstream rock and roll kind of thing, they're keeping that whole special, one of a kind, you return to us because we're us kind of thing about them. And speaking of just rocking the mainstream to its core, here they are playing on a Jimmy Late Night. I'm not even sure which Jimmy it is, which late night it is. It's one of the Jimmy Late Nights. I won't be able to play it for more than like 3 seconds, but here's 3 seconds of it. So it might not have been the Turnstile that I grew up listening to. It is the Turnstile that I'm happy to see moving and shaking out here on the late night shows. Because on this channel, I've been doing videos about all these bands from the 90s. And one thing that all these bands had in common is that they all got really popular at one point and did all these same shows that Turnstile is doing now. So to see Turnstile all these years later taking the role of that rock band is actually pretty cool. I'm happy to see it. It's like representation from my side of the world, and I feel like their vision is being completely actualized right now. And one more thing I want to mention before we get into the specific vibes of the record is this set over here, Turnstile, live at Tied Down Detroit 2025. Turnstile still playing those hardcore shows, still drawing all those people. Here's the No Barricade set that I was looking for. They've done the opposite of abandon their roots. They're embracing them and magnifying them in a way that has, I don't think, ever been done. Bands have come close. Refused could have done it back in the day, had they not been a dramatic nightmare. Title Fight could have done it. Hell, even Operation Ivy could have been this band. Now Turnstile is actually being the band being like, no, let's embrace all the things that all those punk rock bands that were too stubborn to embrace, let's embrace it, but let's do it the way that Turnstile does it. Let's do it in a unique way that only we can do it, and they successfully have done it. So with Turnstile going out there trying new vibes, trying new sounds and that kind of thing, that means they're bringing in new instruments. They're bringing in things like horns and flutes and synths and all this sort of stuff. Like in the song Dreaming. Then in the song Sun Shower. Then in the song Sun Shower, which is a very punk rock flavored song, they tie in some tasteful flutes. Roll it. You got the synths and the woodwinds working back and forth there. These are some vibes I like catching. 100%. And that little soundbite that I played illustrates a thing that I was talking about earlier, how they take the more dreamy synthy parts and interweave them into the rock parts, so then the dreamy parts and then the rock parts don't feel so jarring. They feel like they work hand in hand together. It's actually masterful. On Glow On, the last record, I felt like they had the idea, but they didn't master it. They're like, let's do hardcore synth pop cinema, but that was just the idea. They had no idea how to actually put those pieces together. On this thing over here, all the pieces are put together. On the last record, they did a thing called TLC, which was an EP and a mini film or a short film that Brendan Yates and the band put together. On this record, they did a whole feature-length film that I didn't see yet. People went to the actual theaters to see this thing, and I've heard nothing but glowing reviews. So for a hardcore band from Baltimore to go into it with all these kind of creative, artistic ideas and to actually nail them is really refreshing, because hardcore is known for being sweaty and meathead, kind of jock heavy, just for people like elbowing each other in the face and crowd killing. Doesn't really invoke ideas of artists sitting down to craft a vision or whatever, right? Turnstile feel like real, genuine artists with a vision and a purpose and a mission statement, while giving shine to the hardcore scene and embracing the mainstream hand in hand. Just like what they're doing sonically on the record. There's a duality within Turnstile that I don't think a lot of artists, music, or other mediums have like the capacity to be able to balance. Normally when it comes to creative people and artists, they're very stubborn. They're very stuck in their ways, and they have this like predetermined, uncompromising thing about them. Turnstile doesn't have that. Turnstile want to embrace the things that are going to grow the band, but they also want to embrace the things that are core to the community, which seems impossible because they seem antithetical to one another, and on the surface they pretty much are. But Turnstile have the charisma, the talent, the tenacity, the stage presence, and the cool factor all down to a T, and they don't even need to have a memorable hook to get really popular. And I think that is super sick. Because when I listen to Never Enough, no song jumps out like, oh, that's the radio hit. Oh, that's the hit song. No, it's just a vibe that washes over you, weaves in and out. It kind of sits with you for a little bit. Then you might enter into part of like your real life and you're just out there doing a thing, something boring, maybe getting groceries or going to the post office, whatever it is normal people do. And just that vibe will start to pulsate in the side of your head. Okay, I gotta turn on that Turnstile thing. But now we've come to the part of the video where I have to hit you with just a couple light criticisms, okay? Not necessarily of the record. It is masterful. It is an artistic vision completely actualized, and there's no way to put an arbitrary number on that sort of thing. I'm not gonna come out like a music reviewer or like the ruthless gatekeeper character that I was that used to put arbitrary numbers onto things. It's just a piece of art worth consuming. One thing that I would love to see with this band going forward is the following. Okay, pay attention. Listen up, right? They got the synths on the go. They got these keys on the go. There's people playing flutes. You got some saxophone, maybe some woodwinds and other type instruments. I might have heard a harp on there or something, you know? When I see them live over here, even in the mainstream studio setup, no synth player, no horn player, no woodwind section whatsoever, no cellist. And I'm not saying that they need to make the band like a 15-piece band to pull off the record sound live, because there are a couple tracks on there. A bit of a laptop situation, and that's okay, but I like musicians. I like people playing instruments. And I think to add that element to Turnstile's live presentation would be something worth exploring. Now, like I said, you don't need a 15-person ensemble over here, just one flex player. This flex player just needs to be an insanely talented musician, and they're rolling with insanely talented musicians. I'm sure they could find a flex player out there that has like one of those 3-tier synth setups, you know what I mean? Then he turns to the left and he's got all this laptop situation going on, maybe a turntable type thing. He's got fucking like the gong back here. A flex player. And you get that flex player just back here behind Pat, goddamn, that's a vibe. And then keep that flex player during the hardcore sets like this. That would provide so much more energy. You might need to whittle down the setup for the flex player, maybe just one synth, a saxophone, and a flute. But if they incorporated that extra musician that represents all these extra sounds they're doing on the record, then I think that would be great. And this is just a quick band shot from that Jimmy Late Night show that shows the new guitar player Meg Mills fitting in beautifully with the aesthetic and the vibe of Turnstile. We need a 6th member though, someone playing all those fun instruments. You can't go halfway with it. If you're gonna go all that way on the record, I wanna see it live. Now going through the record, I can kind of hear some of the influences on their sleeve a little bit. I think they might have been listening to The Police while making this, maybe even a little bit of Black Sabbath. I'll use Seeing Stars as the example for The Police, and you tell me if you hear what I hear. That sounds like The Police, right? I'm not tripping. Am I? And even the vocal part sounds a lot like The Police. Am I tripping? Let me know. And then Slow Dive kind of has that Sweet Leaf kind of riff to it. Kind of, not really 100%. It's not like aped, it's not totally stolen, but it has that kind of like Black Sabbath-y kind of vibe. So I think it's very apparent what my take is, but I'm gonna answer the question from the thumbnail. Is it soy woke trash, or is it so amazing that even the audiences of Jimmy Late Night have to appreciate it? Yeah, it's that. It's the latter. It's awesome. Better than Glow On, in my opinion. But I will forever be a non-stop feeling time and space kind of guy. But I actually might listen to this record more than just once. Okay, and that's my Turnstile video. Goodbye, see you later, and have a good one.